Welcome to the Truro and Colchester Chamber of Commerce Business Voice podcast. In the coming days, we will be hosting discussions with candidates from all three ridings in Colchester County to learn about their perspectives on issues presented through the lens of business. The Chamber represents more than 450 businesses in the Truro and Colchester region and has been the recognized voice of business for 131 years. Normally, when an election is called, we would welcome candidates to debates and town hall sessions. But this year, due to COVID-19 and public health restrictions, we have chosen to err on the side of caution and host one-on-one discussions with our candidates. Our members have had an opportunity to submit questions in advance on topics of importance to them. This series of podcasts for the 41st Provincial General Election are brought to you by the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors. Today we'd like to welcome Darlene DeAdder, the NDP candidate for the riding of Truro-Bible Hill-Millbrook-Salmon River. Thank you for joining us, Darlene.
Thank you for inviting me. This is absolutely wonderful to be able to sit down and talk with you today.
Well, let's begin by having you tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've worked at the Colchester Food Bank in Truro for a little over 28 years, and I've met a lot of wonderful people. The struggles and the concerns that they've been going through is more than just food. I've always had an open door policy that they were able to sit down and discuss this with me and be able to, there's wonderful agencies in this town that we've networked with that we're able to reach out or with the people sitting there or give them the information to reach out to continue with, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's the electricity, the heat, right, for any of these basic needs that they're needing, because it's always more than just food when they're coming in and seeing us, right? And so it's nice to be able to sit down and talk with them as well. Right?
Okay. Well, we'll move into the questions.
Sorry.
So, on an ongoing basis, we're polling our members and chatting with them about issues that matter to them. And certainly the topics of questions that we're going to ask today come from our business membership.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things we'll start with is many of our businesses across every sector are experiencing an unprecedented lack of human resources to fill labor gaps from skilled positions to unskilled positions. What is your party's plan to address this critical need in these employment position vacancies?
Right now at the Nova Scotia Community College, they are covering tuition fees for apprentices. So I'd like to expand that partnership with the community college and have the tuition fees covered for trades, businesses, farming, and that will learn. That'll be more people in the workforce with their skilled trades, right, of coming in with them.
Okay, well, another topic that certainly comes up often when we're talking to our members is the lack of family physicians in this area, and that's directly tied to our economic growth of the region and having an overall impact on the health system. It's certainly been a challenge for our businesses to recruit and retain employees with a lack of access to the family physicians. So what is your party's plan to address this?
Expand the position of the nurse practitioners, and then be able to start investing in recruiting in physicians.
Okay. With COVID, we know that there were many investments that were made and supports to help business and communities and people during a really tough time. But it's also a major concern for business, where Nova Scotia has some of the highest taxes in the country, the cost of COVID. So when the relief measures are wound down, how will this debt be repaid?
It's not about cost, it's about the continuing recovery of people and businesses, right? We need to sit down together and include the young people, right, in the decisions and start paying of how to pay back the debt, starting how to pay it back.
Okay. One thing that you touched on briefly in another response was certainly housing is an issue here.
Mm-hmm.
Purchase and rental housing supplies are near historic lows in Nova Scotia, and we know in Truro there's a vacancy rate hovering around 1%, which is extraordinarily low.
Mm-hmm.
How will your party increase this supply to ensure that there's a healthy mix that includes the entire spectrum from community housing, rental, and home ownership?
That would be with permanent rent control, right, would help as well for some of the people, right, for the housing. Sit down, and also for a community approach, would be able to sit down and talk with the businesses, with the landlords, right, with the homeowners, and find some solutions for everyone as well to do with that.
One of the things that has some of our small businesses concerned about is that the current procurement process by government makes it challenging for small businesses to compete in that process. How will your party look at the current procurement process with a lens on increasing opportunities for Nova Scotia business of all sizes?
We need to strengthen our relationships with the local and small businesses to ensure that they have fair access to the procurement process.
And tied to that certainly is red tape and getting involved in different parts of government. But the current red tape and the high costs to implement a process and get permits granting permission for exporting products to markets outside Nova Scotia is preventing some local manufacturers and producers from reaching new markets. How will your party simplify this process for out-of-province exports and improve the cooperation between provinces?
Trade is very important in Nova Scotia, and I'm learning about imports and exports, right? I'd like to review the trade regulations and make sure that it supports the businesses in Nova Scotia.
One thing that certainly is on everyone's mind these days is climate change. Mm-hmm. And supporting a reduction of greenhouse gases and implementing environmentally friendly practices is necessary to build a healthy future in Nova Scotia. What supports will your party enact to assist in greening business?
Provide funding for businesses that are green or going green, or the green jobs. Right? At the food bank, we have just signed up with Second Harvest Rescue Program, which provides product from the local stores, and we're able to hand that out to the clients. Any of the unused product, we actually contact hobby farmers, and they come in and use the compost for growing crops. And when the crops are in, then they in turn donate back to the food bank. Right? This reduces food waste of 190,000 pounds of food so far that's diverted from the landfill.
That's a lovely example of collaboration. So certainly driving around the province of Nova Scotia, now that public health restrictions are relaxed a little bit and we can get out and enjoy our province, there's no doubt that there needs to be a greater investment in roads and our aging bridges. What is your party's plan to ensure that our trade-enabling infrastructure improvements are done to support the movement of supplies and services, as well as growth in our tourism sector?
Okay. We need to strengthen our relationships with businesses, local and small, by sitting down and doing a community approach to discuss and find a solution to all this.
Certainly we've noticed that during the pandemic, the lack of high-speed internet and cell coverage has had an effect on our communities and their ability to access services, which also was there before the pandemic. However, we understand that there are some projects underway in this area to increase greater access to the internet. However, cell service, which is also necessary to grow business, is needed. What is your party's plan to address this gap?
High-speed internet and cell phones are very important. It's not a luxury, it's a need, right? Especially for the rural businesses, such as the farmers, right? We need to invest in infrastructure now, not 10 years from now. We have to very important.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And I appreciate the fact that you took time off the campaign trail to come in and chat with us. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
I want to thank you very much for inviting me here, and that I believe with the community approach, with the local businesses and the small businesses, that we can find solutions for everything, for everyone, to help everyone, right? For
Great.
better quality of life. Thank you.
The Chamber would like to thank all the candidates who made time in their busy schedules to come in and discuss important business issues with our Chamber, to bring these to our members in this format. We'd also like to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, who made these podcasts possible. We encourage everyone to get out and have your voice heard by voting in the election.